Tim, I'm delighted to finally get the chance to talk to you and do a podcast with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll be popping this up on Spotify, A Pet's Life, and we'll also have it on our Des the Vet, A Pet's Life up on YouTube.
Super,
and we pick a couple of different topics every week that are of interest to pet owners in particular. And I've been dying to talk to you about PetBond because it's a subject that's close to my own heart. And look at it, it sounds terrible to say this, but we're coming up to Christmas, which is the time of year when people think about and talk about getting puppies. And as vets, we're always talking to them about not getting puppies. Yeah. So this is maybe where PetBond comes in a little. So I'd love you to tell us a little bit about PetBond and where you are with it and how's it going.
I can, of course, Des. Look, great to catch up, Des, as well, and to feature on the podcast. And I know you have a great audience and a growing audience as well, Des. So it is great to reach out to as many people as we can. And what we do with PetBond, Des, is we're trying to disrupt how people are actually finding their pets. So that's either existing pet owners or new puppy owners. Because as you know very well, the number of new pet owners is just soaring. So, I mean, through COVID, we saw a spike. It's spiking again, actually. And, you know, all the forecasts are that it's going to grow by about another 45% in the next 6 years alone. So that's a huge upward trajectory in the pet industry itself, but also in pet ownership. And, you know, obviously working in practice as well, I still do some clinical work just like yourself. And every day, you know, you see people coming in, they've got a puppy. There's something wrong with the puppy a lot of the time, or they regret getting the puppy. And the default position is get rid of the puppy. You know, it's a disposable item, you know, and it's often that there hasn't been enough thought put into it. So, you know, for me, what PetBond is, it's more like a rational tool where we bring all the factors into play that you need to consider before you get a puppy in the first place. So prevention is the heartbeat of what we do. So the first step in getting a puppy for us and what people should think about is, okay, do your research. You know, are you in a good position to get a puppy in the first place? So what we do is we take new pet owners or prospective pet owners by the hand and we bring them on that little journey where, you know, we kind of stress test them in a very soft, non-judgmental way, you know, as to whether it's a good time to get a puppy. A lot of times it actually isn't. And, you know, we'd say that. And, you know, we just press the pause button until it is a good time to get a puppy. And I think that almost period of reflection, the education around that, that's probably the most important step of pet ownership, is doing that before you ever get a pet in the first place.
Good.
But I think for me, you know, in that, you know, there's a whole lot of factors that are brought into it. Okay, for people, do you have time? Do you have the financial resources? Which, you know, we have to put that out there at the very, very first point of contact with pet owners, because it is an expensive business owning pets. You know, pet food costs a lot. They're going to need toys. They're going to need grooming, a lot of breeds. They're going to need dog walking. They're going to need rehab. They need vet care. You know, they're going to need physio. They're going to need so many different things down the line. Doggy daycare, you know, and you almost need to keep on top of the financial element of this as well. Otherwise, you get into that horrible crunch place in your life with your pet where you're left with no choice, but your pet is costing you too much money. So it's just financial management is a big part of that as well. But all the other factors have to be brought into play as well. You know, have you enough time to look after a pet? Do your kids or your family or your housemates or people in the apartment, do they want a pet as well? So, you know, bringing all those into it really helps you make that decision as to whether, you know, it's a good time to get a pet. And if it is, what a good type of pet would be for you in your circumstances. So that's kind of
log on to the website and join.
Yeah, so what we do is we have new pet owners and they come onto the website, Des, and we bring them through that process. And then when they're happy with it, when we're happy with it as well, then what we do is we actually match them up with the right type of puppy that comes from a source, obviously, that has been accredited, has been vetted literally as well. And vets and veterinary nurses play a huge part in our process as well. So, you know, I think that's an area that historically people haven't really put much emphasis on. And, you know, for me, it was always the first touch point. Who's essentially the first professional person you will go to with your pet? It'll be at the local vet center. So we brought vets into the mainstream here with this, you know, as the first trusted point of contact for pet owners. And I think the profession plays a really important role in that, and it probably needs to play a much more important role going forward in it, what's happening around us.
Do they pay a membership fee then if they sign up, the prospective pet owner?
Well, the prospective pet owner that comes on board, what we do is we actually match them with a vet clinic. So we form that rapport. So we call it vet bonding, essentially, is the first step early on. So there's no cost to the new pet owner for that. That's part of the journey. Because then it's a case of matching them with the right pet. That pet then is bonded with the owner and the vet clinic. So, you know, the vet can be comfortable where the puppies come from. They've got all the records, the health information, all the backstory as well. So you're not presented like, you know, we often are, where you've got this shivering little puppy put up in front of you. You know as well as the owner does where the puppy come from, and they're trying to give you the history with gritted teeth. And, you know, you're trying to break the bad news that, you know, this is a big liability for them. So, you know, again, it's just being very rational about it, taking a lot of the emotion out of it, which I think is important. And I think, you know, we're at that place in life where we're dealing, you know, with all types of scenarios every day, that we sometimes have to distill it down into the, you know, the facts, and what we need to do to make this scenario better. And I think that's important. And, you know, we need more of that, actually, when it comes to pet ownership.
So the USP really is that the PetBond is this agency or guardian which will steer them towards the right type of dog, the right breeder, and the right vet.
It is, Des, yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, you've got those 3 pillars to success, is what I call it, when it comes to pet ownership. And, you know, again, you pick up the newspaper probably every week, you'll see something about people, you know, dogs being seized from breeders. You know, and that's probably what we always hear about. And that's what we prevent, because we've all the due diligence done, and we know exactly where the puppies are coming from. And we've very sophisticated tech as well. But, you know, tech is all well and good to a point, because you can tech, you know, there's a million different things you can do with it. And AI is just, you know, obviously taking, you know, a new place in that journey as well. But people are always so important, Des. And I think, you know, when you scale things, you can often lose sight of the human input, and especially the input of people that have the experience, the knowledge base, you know, and exactly know what to look out for. I mean, that
I know that vets are well disposed to the idea, so you'll get a good reaction from vets. Are you getting good reaction from breeders?
We have, Des, we have the ones that see the value in it, and the breeders that want to do better. The breeders that are very, I suppose, they're very aware of where their puppies are going to go to. They're actually genuinely care about their puppies as well. And there are more breeders that are starting to be concerned about where their puppies go, you know, and they realize that reckless pet ownership, you know, is not really good for their future puppies. And also, you know, if they want to breed again, you know, they might have people coming back to them if they've done it right the first time. So we are seeing a cohort of people. I think the idea of, you know, the mass production of puppies, a huge scale, the factory farming type idea, you know, the neglect of dogs just to treat them as commodities. We're seeing that the younger generation of pet owners are the ones that are changing that. You know,
very good. Do you think that might be a thing of the past before too long?
Yeah, it's like most things in life, Des. I've always said this from day one when I started. It's like this is something people will vote with their feet. You know, you can bring all the legislations you want, but they'll sit on a shelf somewhere. And it's one of those things in life that it's the actual person that's actually, you know, receiving the puppy. They're the ones that, you know, will get to that point where they'll realize, well, you know, this doesn't look right. You know, clearly it's not right. Therefore, instead of being shrouded by emotion and, you know, feeling that I'm going to save this puppy, well, no, in fact, if I do that actually and take this puppy, I'm just contributing to that cycle, and this goes on and on and on. Instead,
that's all of horror stories about these puppies coming in that are traumatized. They already have behavioral problems. They're wormy. They're anxious, and in many cases, typically that 10-week-old puppy that arrives in for its first, sometimes they're coming in for allegedly their second shot, and you know by the card that it's a bit dodgy, that they mightn't have even gotten the first shot, and they're already exhibiting behavioral difficulties. They've been traumatized, and there's an uphill struggle in terms of retraining and time and input to get the anxiety out of these puppies and socialize them and familiarize them. And people have an uphill battle in terms of trying to make a nice family pet out of this puppy, and it's already only 10 weeks old.
You know, that's the thing, Des, and we know that, you know, the golden periods, say from 3 days old, 6 weeks, you know, 16 weeks of socialization, you know, that critical period. And obviously that's neglected both on the, you know, the mass scale.
That's worth saying again, Tim. You say that golden period starts at 3 days.
3 days
days
now.
to 16 weeks is the crucial phase.
Yeah, and that's when puppies are born. Obviously they're grown, they're nurtured, and then they're either sold or they're rehomed during that period. So that's where all the problems begin. And you're seeing all these issues now in society, across the world actually, where dogs are being relinquished. Rescue centers are literally shutting down. They can't cope. Different breeds of dogs are causing havoc around the world. Dog bites are gone through it's carnage. It's absolute carnage out there in the dog world.
Tim, we might have to, frequently enough now, it's happening all too often. We're euthanizing dogs at 9 months to a year after a couple of biting incidents, and we have to console people that, listen, it's genuinely not your fault. The trouble started literally because of difficulties during that golden phase.
Absolutely, and it's well proven that dogs that aren't socialized properly, done properly, not mind socializing them, but actually doing it properly at that stage, that they're proven to be more fearful, they're more apprehensive, they're more aggressive, and it's statistically proven the dogs that are invariably surrendered to rescues. So there's a clear direct correlation, and this isn't anything complex. This is very, very straightforward. There are other factors, but primarily the root cause of this is down to poor rearing, poor socialization. And again, I saw somebody posting something recently on LinkedIn, and it was called, or they were actually on a UK channel about calling it puppy Prozac. The vets are giving out puppy Prozac. And I mean, it was completely headline grabbing, fodder bait, clickbait is all it was. Because
they talking about the Reconcile.
Well, it was in other medications as well, but essentially, if you get puppies in, you always try and reverse engineer the problem. Well, and I know most of my colleagues do as well. So we were presented with a dog with behavioral issues, but it's got clinical problems as well. And we're trying to say, okay, well, how do we break this down into steps that with the owner, we can build it back up and, try and resurrect this scenario. So it's a challenge at times because we're managing the emotions of the dog, the health of the dog, the emotions of the owner, their finances, time, everything like that. So, you've got a short window of 15 to 30 minutes to do all this, which is a challenge in itself, but, we have to do it. So I think sometimes, these kind of headlines that are thrown out there, they're very misleading to the public. And I think if there's any puppies that are given medication or any young dogs, it's for extreme cases that have been explored. They've been done with another professional as well that maybe specialized in that area in conjunction with themselves. And I think it's important that for complex cases like that you do have a team of people that can sit down and add their input, and everybody, is an expert in their own field.
So Reconcile is a medication that's come on board in the last couple of years, and we're using it sparingly. It's licensed for separation anxiety. It helps with a lot of these very damaged younger dogs. It helps with aggression because it makes the dogs less reactive and so on. And we're prescribing it sparingly. And I'm in two views as to whether it's a last resort drug or something I should use more frequently. But again, when you talk about reverse engineering, that's a good term. The moral of the story is we'd rather not have to use the Reconcile in the first place, and we'd rather the process was done right from an earlier stage. And we'd rather we could get more breeders on board onto services like PetBond, and to understand that rearing these puppies is not just about birthing them and feeding them and giving them a wash and then selling them, that they have to do much more to ensure that these puppies go out into families well enough adjusted to be good family pets.
I mean, that's it, Des. And you know yourself that in practice now, and for new pet owners and the new generation, it's all about prevention. We've plans there, which means, and this is proven again, that for a lot of patients you'd have in your health plans, and I'd have them as well, is that we're less likely to see them come in as sick patients, So, and, there's all the case studies that would show that, and that actually is a much better model of efficiency in clinical practice. Instead of the old, fire brigade, you were dealing with stuff that was coming at you morning, noon and night from all angles. But now, and that's where this whole concept as well for, rearing puppies, breeding them, people getting puppies fits in very nicely with that. And, I think that awareness, it's like, I suppose, the general population, we're more health conscious. We try and prevent conditions in ourselves. Likewise, in our pets, we should be preventing, say, socialization issues. Therefore, we do not get a puppy that hasn't been socialized. Therefore, if we suspect it hasn't been done, we walk away. Likewise, with health conditions that are preventable, we know now a lot of those conditions that can be actually prevented. So there is that awareness, I think, by more people and more pet owners now that, okay, well, that has to fit in with the mainstream veterinary population and the way animal healthcare has evolved as well. And I think it's a very important pillar that people have actually bought into.
So if I, do you think there are more novice pet owners, potential pet owners out there, by the way?
There are, well, definitely, because the number of pet owners is increasing days. So without a shadow of a doubt, and there will be more and more as well. And I think what we have to do is, position ourselves in such a way that we can help these people, and assist them from the earliest opportunity. The earliest moment people think of getting a puppy, they need a huge support network around them, a trusted network that can actually help them at that stage. Because
so the USP of PetBond is that network, access to that support for the novice pet owner or the potential new dog owner.
It is, Des, yeah. And as I said, you've got it's professional people that are doing it for every day of the week, that see this all day every day. So we're not novices that come in and just let people exchange puppies and as I said, pretend that they know what they're doing. Like, it's much it's more serious than that. And as I said to people, getting a puppy is like a 15-year project. So if you're not willing to be emotionally and, more importantly, financially invested in that, do not get a puppy. Simple.
Access to vet care from the word go. A vetting process before you even know which puppy you're going to buy.
You do indeed, yeah. So you have to go through that process, Des, and your puppy goes through it as well, and it's the professionals. So
how are you getting it out there, the word out there to breeders, to sign up, to buy into it, to become part of it, to produce their puppies better, to present themselves to the PetBond platform?
Yeah, we have obviously word of mouth, as when you're starting something, day one, that's how things happen. But as you get bigger, then you have to resort to marketing. Google is obviously the biggest tool there, and for anything that's anyway digital, that takes time to build up rankings, and there are various ways of doing that as well. So the more people use it, the more it can actually scale and grow, and people hear about it. And as I said, things like the media, the media have been very good as well. And they will continue to be,
So if I send a new, this does happen to us frequently now because Kildare town is growing with new housing estates around us, more and more new families coming into the region, and people literally will pop in and just hold the door open and say to the receptionist, "Hi, we're thinking about getting a dog. We just wanted to drop in. Do we need to register with you?" Yeah. So that person, we new potential pet owner, we will say to them, "Oh, do sign up with PetBond." So if you could get that word, the word PetBond, into the vernacular, into the lexicon, into everybody's speech, when they hear the word new puppy, they should think of PetBond. And that's where you could literally make it the go-to place. Because they will ask as well, "Oh, where's the best place to? Do you know any breeders around here? I'd like to get a Labrador. Do you know a Labrador breeder?" So if we're going to send these people to PetBond and go and sign up with PetBond, how many different breeds or breeders now will you be able to access for them?
We have hundreds, Des, that have gone through the process. So we have a variety of breeds as well. You name it, we'll have them there. There are certain breeds that we reject a lot. We've had to, a lot of breeders, we couldn't allow them anywhere near what we do. And they'll openly flaunt their produce on other classified ads website. I mean, it's a hard thing to watch. It's a very, very hard thing to watch that. When somebody doesn't meet your criteria, which we think are fair, they're robust, but they should be the norm. This shouldn't be the exception at all, and that's the point. But then when you see, people going there, going off there, and you see the financial misery for new pet owners that will have go on those websites, you'll see obviously the emotional distress is going to cause them with a very sick pet that probably wanted pet insurance that'll cost them thousands, but and it's all back to prevention again. So as you said, bringing it back into the mainstream, making it a part of the whole prevention idea, building it into the veterinary industry almost, there's a place for it in there, because as I said, that's where people go. Every dog is going to need treatment, and we're at a stage where preventative healthcare is what it's all about. It's happening in humans, it's happening in pets now. So I think we're just evolving really as a sector in that sense, just like we're embracing tech and things like that as well. But look, it's a good time before, and as I said, Bloomberg was 2 weeks ago forecasted a 45% growth. I can see it greater than that even. I mean, pet ownership is just going to skyrocket next number of years.
So if we buy a puppy through PetBond, what has it already had done?
Yeah. Okay. What it's done, what it would have done is it's already come from an approved source. So everything about the breeder, we know they've gone through a very rigorous and stringent onboarding. So we know their clinic they're affiliated with. We know all about them. We did the number of dogs they have, the number of puppies they've ever had, the health of the mother, the puppies, the father, the puppies. We know everything about that puppy even before it was born. Okay. And that's the information you will receive as a new pet owner. And I suppose more importantly as well, is when you go to view that puppy as many times as you like, you're under no pressure whatsoever. If you decide after the fourth visit, actually, no, for whatever reason, that's fine. There's no compulsion on you to take a puppy. Maybe come back another time and you can get it. So, it's that peace of mind we offer people. There's no pressure on the journey. And that's a big thing that people come to us and say, well, okay, at least we could do it. We were at ease and we knew that all the checks and balances were done. Nothing was left to chance on it, because we don't let people join the process if they're not meeting the inclusion criteria. So it's a whole new way days of as I said, matching what I say is the right person with the right pet at the right time. That's what it does.
Brilliant. And it's chipped, it's vaccinated, it's dewormed. That's all been looked at and checked.
Yeah, I mean, if the vet colleagues, vet teams, is what we have as part of this process. Veterinary surgeons, veterinary nurses, if they're not happy, we're not happy. So we do not feature that puppy. So
it's not about pedigrees. It's not about the kennel club registration. Nothing like that. It's just about the model of the pup being right for that person.
Yeah, and that's a good point, is because yourself, and I participate in a lot of discussions about this, about pedigree dogs, the kennel club, and then I always say you have the two extremes of the spectrum. You've those dogs with rosettes and they're show winners, and then at the other end, you have these poor little dogs that are churned out. They've so many different breeds in them from these factory farms. So there is a place in between where you have to look at this as a dog, okay, and not lose sight of which end of the spectrum it is. And I think it's very important to bring the conversation back to that. And working with, some other organizations at the moment, that's a big thing they're putting out there, are the 5 domains, the 5 freedoms it was known, respected here with this dog. So really, taking all the noise away from it and bringing it back down to the basics and saying, okay, well, if they're not, then you've got an issue. Oh, but then maybe it's a pedigree dog, or, it's a secondary issue, as you said. So it's about, I think, getting that sweet spot and kind of repositioning how people actually see a dog, as opposed to being, one end of the spectrum or the other.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, exactly. And helping to understand that this animal is a living sentient being, and it's not about the pedigree. It's not about the piece of paper. It's not just about the hip score. It's not just about the eye score. It's about the whole model of rearing and adjustment that the puppy has had. And to move potential pet owners away from the impulse buy. Something I've spoken about before, the idea of buying a puppy on an impulse and bringing it home as a gift.
Yeah, that's fortunately it still happens, Des, and it's again, it's a very emotional journey for people, and sometimes they get shrouded with their emotions. But if you rationally take a step back, and that's what we do, we take a step back and we bring people back a step, and we say, okay, it's going to cost you this. Time-wise, you need to put away 90 minutes every single day, not 5 days a week. Okay. This is, the impact it's going to have on your family life. You won't be able to go away like you didn't, the dog won't just kind of happily sit there and watch TV on its own for 2 weeks as you want. Really bringing real life into this. Okay. And then you can see almost the change in body language of people straight away. Because they're not being, pardon the pun, so up, literally. So you're being very upfront about them, with them about this journey and, all the factors involved. And I think that's important as well. And, sometimes these impulse buys, you can see classified ads websites, they're designed just like selling marketplaces, just like any other commodity based website. Quick click, transaction done, that's it, walk away. So it's buyer. I mean, that's well and good for secondhand sofas and stuff, but it shouldn't be the case for pets, Des. And that's, I've been an advocate of that now for a couple of years. So, you've all those factors and influences you're trying to work against as well, to kind of say, okay, how can you actually change the dial a little bit in favor of pets when it comes to that? Because then you can change human behavior a little bit. If you put certain things in place that they have to go through, I wouldn't say barriers, but there's different stages they have to go through to actually meet a pet digitally. Then it gives them time to pause, time to think, and that's really important, as you said, before they actually get a pet.
So how do we get the word PetBond and the PetBond service into people's heads, into the consciousness, into the public domain, so that it becomes the go-to place?
I suppose, like everything does, we're starting to ramp up now. We'll be ramping up in our marketing soon. It's taken us a bit of time to get to that point. But I suppose the more people spread the word and the more people actually use us and tell people, word of mouth again is powerful. And we have, a lot of great success stories so anybody that's interested, they can come to us directly by email or contacts on LinkedIn or any social media. And what we do is we just connect them up with somebody that's got a puppy through us and let them chat offline, share their stories. Then they come back to us and we go on the journey with them. So that's the best way of doing it. The proof of the puppy is actually there. And, that's a testament to the work that the team behind the scenes have done for a number of years now. And, we can hopefully see them succeed even more in 2025.
Well, Tim, I hope PetBond continues to grow, and I hope vets have it on the tip of their tongues and are sending people to you. And the USP, as you say, is you can connect the right potential pet owner with the right pet to suit their family, and connect them to breeders who are reputable, and get them into the loop of having the right vet care from the word go, and having a puppy that's had the right start in life from the word go. So fingers crossed that it continues to grow and that vets and pet owners and breeders are all on board.
Absolutely.
And that we can prevent the Christmas puppy, remembering that pets are for life.
That's absolutely it. And I think it's all about prevention, isn't it? And if you can prevent something in the first place, 110%.
Fingers crossed for you and PetBond in 2025. And Tim, let's have a chat again in the future about PetBond. And another subject close to your heart I'd love to chat to you about would be the whole issue of breed defects and preventing breed defects. I know you're involved with the brachycephalic improvement schemes and that sort of stuff. So that's a topic for another date. But fingers crossed that PetBond continues to grow for you and becomes a social and commercial success.
Absolutely. We'd certainly do that. Look, I enjoyed the podcast. I've heard a number of them at this stage as well. And I know the go-to podcast for pet owners in Ireland, Des, and continued success with it too. Okay.
Yeah, cheers, Tim. Have a good one.
You too, Des. Nice to chat again, man. Okay.
You too. Bye.